So now we're seeing Shiki's perspective of all this, right? Looks like it. God, that shit is massive. Never in a million years would I have imagined I'd see something like this. Can you even call that a fissure at this point? The whole city has risen into the air and is poised to go crashing down to the ground like some massive counterweight. Ciel-senpai is standing at the edge of the elevated city. Below her, about 100 meters below her to be exact, is the fallen figure of Arcueid, pinned to the ground and unable to move. Hell no. Silence descends over the city. The blinding light that was there a second ago is gone, and I can't hear the sound of gunfire or of buildings being destroyed. To the no. I realize that this isn't a sports match, and that I shouldn't be getting too caught up in rooting for my team. But even so, I'm happy that Ciel was able to make it out in one piece. I feel a second-hand pride at the thought that her perseverance through this hard-fought battle has paid off. However, that feeling of joy is soon washed away. My legs become unsteady, and I almost collapse. An inexplicable heartburn assails me, and I feel like I'm about to throw up. I clutch at my racing heart with my left hand. This must be Roa. He isn't just thinking like he did before. The Roa inside of me is exhibiting an intense nausea. His disgust is so fierce that it's almost murderous. My headache is back. Roa is furious. He berates Ciel-senpai for making such a heinous mistake, while also resenting Arcueid for her pitiful display. I start feeling lightheaded. Both Roa and I, vampire and human, simultaneously feel a shiver race down our spine. The world sways. Roa's pain and grief are growing even stronger. I can't. This is too much. I cling to the railing on the roof for support, unable to see either the inner workings of my mind or the world around me. Yep. It's time for Kaiju Arcueid to make her appearance. That thing, it puts the cataclysm I just witnessed to shame. It's something utterly divorced from reality, a fantasy made manifest. I can tell it's her, even though I wish I couldn't. That thing is nothing more than light. A mere natural phenomenon, not even alive at all. And yet, my brain can tell exactly what it is. That it's Arcueid. What exactly happened and how, I don't know, but that light is Arcueid herself. But why? What the hell happened for her to turn into this?
インフレーション。理論的にはそうなると予見はしていた。我々にとって利するものは何もない。醜悪極まる結末だがね。デーモンコアの実験は知っているか？ああ、知らないのなら結構。期待してもいなかった。
Damn. The calm voice of a man whispers in my ear. It is the voice of someone else coming from within me, from inside my own body. The whispers echo throughout my skull. Roa's a lot more talkative than he was before, and he isn't exactly shy about barging into my consciousness.
そう を高ぶるな。私も上書きする前に目覚めたことに辟易している。力の供給源である姫君からの過剰投与、死人ですら飛び起きると思う。お前が動かしている動力の横領もしていない。不快感は少ないはずだ。
He's right. I do feel a mild numbness every time he speaks, but it isn't the kind of skull-splitting pain I felt before. Hearing someone else's voice inside your own head is also the sort of thing that ought to be unpleasant, but I honestly feel a strange sense of safety and solidarity from it instead. What's wrong with me? Why the hell do I feel so buddy-buddy with the man who's responsible for all this?
正常な反応だ。今の私はこの器を継承する準備ができておらず、また党の指揮と融合する選択肢を除外した。私はお前の選択に対して別視点から意見、忠告、解説、批評をもたらす補助じゃ。そうだ、カーナビゲーションのようなものだ。お前の根底にある合理性は有益な機能を嫌悪することはない。
I resist the urge to snap back and ask what the hell he's talking about. Arcueid, or what I think is Arcueid, has turned into a dome of light. Roa has started describing himself as some sort of useful feature to me. Ciel-senpai has been swallowed by the light and is nowhere to be seen. It's an utterly incomprehensible situation, and that's exactly why I have to make use of everything at my disposal.
わかるのか、お前。あれが何なのか。
あれは抗体だ。
抗体？
The hero?
神祖の王族のみが持つ霊気状態。神祖が何らかの手段で肉体を完全に破壊されてしまったとき、その反作用として起きるものだ。エレイシアが膠着していただろう。アルクエイド・ブリュンスタット、小さく重いものだ。あれは活動する際、その出力を常に相手より一段階上のものに制限する。それは万能の表れではない。ただの枷だ。彼女から肉体という制限がなくなり、かつその精神活動が衰えていない場合、力の制御はされなくなる。肉体に秘められていた魔力は拡散し、地表から引き出すエネルギーに制限はかけられなくなる。それがインフレーション、理覚抗体現象。本来は星の内部にとどまっている長く天体を運営するための魂を地表に漏らす、あってはならないシステム障害。そうだ、わかりやすく言えば自然による消費文明への自浄作用。いや、報復機構と思えば。
つまり、その
You were not paying attention, were you?
お前の知性レベルを考慮していなかった。要は暴走して魔力を垂れ流している手のつけられないクソったれな状態ということ。
That makes sense.
そうかよ、悪かったな。そんなの見ればわかるけどな。
Besides, Arcueid isn't the only problem here. What I really want to know is whether Ciel-senpai is okay inside that light.
まっとうな生き物であれば生きてはいる。だがあの女は私がいる限り不滅だ。今も死にながら生きている状況だと考察できる。
My legs are already moving before I'm done processing what he just said. I start running across the rooftop like I've been fired from a gun. His lecture can wait. I don't know what that thing is, and my whole body trembles just looking at it. But there's no way in hell I'm just going to stand here and watch. Off we go.
同じ思考回路を使う者として忠告をしておこう。もしやと思ってはいた。お前自殺が趣味だったのか。
余計なお世話だ。16回も死んでる奴は黙ってろ。
Tuh. I fire off a retort at my formless counterpart and launch myself off the roof. Even falling from that height doesn't pose a problem for my body. Disgusting. I feel sick at how freakishly far removed I am from any ordinary life. But right now, such feelings don't bother me. The intruder lurking in the corner of my mind, the fact that my body is turning into that of a vampire, the abnormality that allows me to see death, I'll put them all to good use. I have to, if I want to stand any chance of taking Ciel-senpai back from that thing. As soon as I leave the school grounds, the world becomes something completely unrecognizable. Also, I noticed that little sparkle up there. Fierce gusts of wind dance in the skies above. I wonder if it'll be important later. The atmospheric pressure is fluctuating wildly, as though a storm was coming. The air brushing against my skin is hot and humid as the night tropics. I put the atmospheric abnormalities out of mind, and set my sights on the center of the light. The fear of the unknown is real. I'd have liked to at least take a guess as to what that thing really is, but the blistering sensation of my skin burning tells me I don't have time for that.
このまま無策で突撃する人、すごいな。
無策で悪いか。何をするにしろ、まずは近寄らないと話にならないだろう。
最短距離で直進するのなら交代まで目測で 800m。 今のお前なら1分とかからない距離だ。すでに1分は走っていることについて何か質問は。
Now that Rose pointed it out, I see the issue. The size of the city no longer matches reality?
交代化の影響だ。自称収納によってこの街は不確定の世界になりつつある。世界の中心にして採用である彼女に近寄ることは困難。世界そのものが彼女を尊重し彼方に遠ざけようとしているのだ。
ああ、もう言い方。
ベルトコンベア。
Shit, that really is easier to understand. In other words, if I just stand still, Arcueid and Ciel-senpai will continue to get further and further away. I don't get how the city is able to expand without changing size or shape, but Ro's explanation is right on the mark. Basically, if I want to get closer to that light...
Surprise, motherfucker!
Whoa. I have to travel faster than the city is expanding. Whoa!
なんだ今の。あいつの爪か。狙われた。
That big ass gust came out of nowhere, Jesus. Literally in the middle of me reading.
競争意識ですらない。我々は彼女に意識されてもいない。
意識されていない。
Is he saying that Arcueid hasn't found us yet? I'm glad to hear it, but at the same time that's a terrifying notion. It basically implies that those gusts of wind, which would have sliced me in two if I weren't half vampire, are an unremarkable natural phenomenon in this world.
明確な攻撃の意図がなくても。
I'm risking my life just by setting foot in her domain. As if I'm a pitiful doll being swept up in a raging river and torn to pieces.
嵐に近づくとはそういうことだ。お前の目に交代は脅威として映っているのだ。それは正しい。交代に近寄れば近寄るほど危険は増していく。波の使徒であればここが限界だと忠告しておく。ここはまだ彼女の意識の外、いわば圏外。領域侵犯には至っていない。だがこれ以上接近するという。
Then that's when she'll deal with me in earnest. Do I advance or retreat? Roa tells me that this is my last chance to turn back. This might be one of, if not our last decisions.
Yes, sir.
邪魔すんな。黙ってろ。
I'm well aware that this place is a death trap. But this distance is something that Senpai risked her life to protect. There's no way I could run away at this point. Are we locking in now?
そう
No running
だが
away.
次期彼女の圏内に入り意識を強く保つことあれがなぜ我々には光にしか見えないのかその理由があと100メートルほどで明らかになる
I take Ro's advice to heart. As loath as I am to admit it, his commentary has proven useful. Dense, almost unbreathable air, an expanding city, claws of air that descend upon anyone who draws near. The situation is already beyond human comprehension. If I weren't alone, there's a good chance I'd have succumbed to panic long ago. I race faster and faster down what used to be a road. I'm sprinting at over 50 kilometers per hour, breaking through the wall of air that coils around it. We step into her domain. Aw shit, here we go. The final battle approaches. I'm at a loss for words. Even though my limbs need to keep moving me forward, they slow down instead, as if refusing to advance any further. Part of me completely understands why they would. The sky is red, completely and utterly red. The city, stripped of its features, is as silent as the grave. At its heart, there reigns a gigantic figure that defies common sense. What? My brain rejects all explanation. What? My fear rejects all thought. What? My memory rejects all identification. How could that have materialized in a human city?
宗教的な認識操作だ遠くから拝礼する者には恐ろしい理解できないという印象は与え近くまで拝礼する者には美しい理解できるという印象を与え神は足元にひざまずく者にのみ真実の一端を見せる者
Rose words skim across the surface of my thoughts. That's arcueid? This goes beyond simply being strange. What appears to be the head looms over even the Hyatt Tower, the tallest building in the city. That building is supposedly 100 meters tall. So does that mean this giant is even taller than that?
そうあの光の中心に彼女の意識はあるのだ肉体という壁がないとその有り余る魔力量のまま彼女が思い描く自身のイメージが投影拡散されているあれはすでにお前の知るアルクエイド・ブリュンスタットとは別のものだ
Clearly. Before us stands a nightmare made manifest. We are the only living things left in this husk of a city. A human city devoid of humans. A dead city home to not even a single spark of life, where only emptiness prevails. Even the vines smothering the buildings have lost their color. The world itself speaks to just how wrong Arcueid's current state is. The shiki was too stunned to speak. The pressure she's exerting almost stops my feet in their tracks. Even with all other life driven out of it, a single heartbeat envelops the city. This entire domain is thick with the will of the vampire known as Arcueid, an oppressive, suffocating atmosphere, as though I'm trapped inside the belly of the beast. No, It isn't as though I am. This truly is the Garden of Giants. I remember a fairy tale I read as a child. It is said that any human who wanders into the giant's garden is utterly helpless, and that as soon as they're discovered, they are crushed like rats. I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Take off the glasses. I sharpen my senses to avoid being consumed by despair. My heightened senses and awareness reveal the truth of this world. Yeah, no matter how supernatural this world may be, the lines remain a constant. Even if it's nowhere to be seen on that giant, the world itself still contains the possibility of death. How ironic to think the day would come that these lines have become a source of encouragement. And not only that, well, there she is. There's a reason I have to go up against this giant. I look straight at my greatest objective. One that I couldn't see until I entered this surface consciousness. She's been caught. Senpai is being held captive by that giant. She's being held with such overwhelming strength that she's constantly alternating between death and regeneration. I hear something snap inside my brain. It must be the sound of my safety breaking off. I flood my flagging limbs with blood. I restart my paralyzed heart through sheer force of will. Rose warning puts a damper on my sudden resolve. In that same instant, a shotgun-like blast of air rips past the office buildings. With my vampirized body and mind, I dodged the series of claws, which would easily have ripped me to shreds if they touched me, by no more than a hair's breadth. My head's still on my shoulders, and I've somehow managed to keep all four of my limbs attached. Thanks to Rose's heads up, I was able to react in the nick of time. See, maybe he is pretty helpful after all. As much as I'd love to, I'll never reach Senpai that way. I estimate there's another 300 meters left between me and that giant. To actually reach her, I'll need to travel 10 times that. How am I supposed to close that distance when those claws of air whip at me with every step I take? His calm rebuke tears at my resolve. However, far off in the distance is a sight that overrides my fear. I'm not going to stand still for so much as a second. Lock in. I take a deep breath. Senpai is being killed even as I stand here. For her, being killed is a certainty. For me, being killed is a possibility. It's obvious which one of us has to act. Regardless of how towering my opponent may be, I'll make her pay for laying a hand on my woman. I click my tongue. He's right, of course. I'm curious what he meant by the low road being a losing strategy, but it's true that it would be foolish to fight against that giant head on.
けどビルの屋上までどうやって？ビルに見えるだけで入り口もなければ階段もないんだぞ。
まだ人間の常識が抜けていない。
Yeah, you're a vampire. You can just jump over that shit easy.
の谷を飛ぶ程度のイメージができなければ交代には近づけない。
自力で飛べってのか。
お前では高低差20メートルの跳躍が限度だろう。小型のビルから大型のビルに乗り継げ。
いちいち的確だな、おい。
It's true that it wouldn't be impossible with my current body. The idea of leaping from one rooftop to another is terrifying, but it's not like it's any more dangerous than sticking to the ground. I guess I'll start by running up the roof of that building. If I emulate how Arcueid did it back then...
構成を期して進言しておく。
なんだよ、出鼻をくじくの好きだな、お前。
吸血種として活動することに党の指揮の肉体は変化していく。
When has that ever mattered?
私の魂を殺せたとして、
Especially now.
変化しきった体は人間には戻れない。
There's a moment's pause.
だから愚問だったようだ。では急ぐがいい。姫君はまだこちらに気づいていない。奇襲はお前の得意とするところだろう、殺人鬼。
You don't have to tell me twice. I take off my glasses, grip the knife in my right hand, and sprint up the side of a building that may as well be a mountain. I use a shorter building as a stepping stone to lead to a taller one. After running along the length of the roof, I jump across to the next roof over a distance of 30 meters. It's already pretty blustery up here on the rooftops, but it seems like things are even more turbulent in the skies above. Even as I run, it feels like a particularly strong gust of wind could easily come and sweep me off my feet. If I'm not careful, I'll get whisked up into the clouds. What is that fog down there? Unfortunately, I can't see what's happening on the ground from up here. The area around that white giant, the luminary, is shrouded in some sort of white fog. Is that what Rowan meant about the low road being a losing strategy? I don't know what the thick fog is, but I definitely get the sense it's dangerous. If traveling along the ground means passing through that, then I'll stick with my high altitude circus trapeze act. The luminary hasn't moved. I'm still about 300 meters away. Even though I've already covered close to 500 meters across the rooftops, Arcueid still looks as far away as she did before. Even so, there's no doubt I'm getting closer. The gusts of wind are getting more and more violent with each building I cross over. At this rate, I should reach that behemoth in under 2 minutes.
正面から向かうなと進言した。交代の魔眼は使徒のものとは次元が違う。視線を合わさずとも姫君に見られただけで全身が硬直し囚われてしまうだろう。この体はお前だけの体ではない。落下死は避けてほしいものだ。
そうかよ、俺からも一ついいか。このまま回り込んで近づいたとしても、もしあいつが動いたらどうするんだ。
愚かだがもっともな質問だ。安心しろ、交代は動かない。
Ah, her one
あれはシス
weakness.
テムのようなものだと言っただろう。生命として成立はしているが、動体であってはならない。多少の微調整、変貌はするだろう。あの位置から移動することはない。
Well, that's good news at least. If I risked my life to get close only for her to wander off, I don't know if I'd have enough stamina to go on. I mean, her pace would totally outmatch mine. I'm already completely out of breath just trying to get near her. So if this turns into a game of tag, I'd be all out of options too.
ランドマークとして考えていいんだな。なら、目標は決まった。
There's the shell of a 60-meter tall building directly behind the luminary. If I'm going to stage a surprise attack, that's the place to do it from. But first, I've got to get there. I'm and off shiki goes. I slice my way through yet another of the claws of air. According to Roa, they're a form of automatic retaliation characteristic of this surface consciousness. They're so slow that they don't pose a problem though. My eyes have already gotten used to them. I circle around Arcueid, giving her a wide berth. Remaining distance, 150 meters. I can do this. I haven't run into any major obstacles so far. It's honestly a bit of a letdown after the attacks I watched her pull off from the roof of the school. Just as I'm starting to feel confident that I'll make it there in one piece.
ああ、行幸だ。よほどエレイシアが憎いという。姫君は指先の獲物に夢中で、我々に気がついていない。
Roa's nonchalant words make my blood run cold. I don't need to take advantage of my enhanced vision. Just as I'm about to pass her, I catch sight of a cruel display she has seemingly put on for my enjoyment.
どうしたのよシエル。そろそろ反撃したら。ずっと手も足も出ないなんてあなたらしくない。
It was a voice unfit to be called as such. Or at least, it wasn't human speech, or even transmitted via sound at all. With its enormous hands and fingers, that thing torments the captive figure of Blank. Any resistance Blank can muster is futile in the face of the luminary. It makes a mockery of what it means to be alive, toying with Blank carefully, persistently, as if savoring her reactions. It effortlessly plucks off her arm. It licks the twitching arm in delight. It effortlessly wrings her abdomen. It paints its nails with her spilled blood. It effortlessly tears off her head. It watches rapidly as it rewinds itself to normal. It effortlessly cuts open her stomach. It scrapes out the contents with its pinky finger. Oh god, look at her now. It is a feast. In its own way, it is imitating the creative ingenuity humans display in killing, preparing, and ravenously consuming animals. The only difference is the form of nutrition it takes. The thing that doesn't feed on protein, but on the entertainment derived from the suffering of other beings.
もういろいろびしょびしょね。姫。
Truly a beast.
面白みがなくなってきた。
Every time Blank is restored, she fruitlessly stretches out her hand, grasping at nothing. She's begging for help. Seeing her resist with all her strength.
安心して。私は見苦しいなんて言わないから。
Shatters my sense of reason.
さっきのお返し。虫みたいに潰してあげる。
No, it already shattered a long time ago.
やめろ
Senpai, 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 senpai! I can't stop my voice or my emotions from erupting. There's no way in hell I can keep quiet and hide at this point. Forget playing it safe by circling around behind her. I'm gonna charge straight in and slice her fucking arm off. But no matter how much I scream, or how hard I work my legs, I can't get close to the giant. It's still too far. It's still too difficult. Taking back Senpai from this far is utterly impossible. There's that visceral laugh I've been waiting for. The world trembles at her breath, voice. I helplessly grind my teeth in humiliation. Even though I jumped out into the open and yelled at her in anger, she hasn't so much as turned to look at me. Rose warning pours cold water on my boiling anger. Ahead of me is a wall of air so mighty that it completely eclipses all of the automatic retaliations that came before. If that tempest were aimed directly at me, there'd be no way I could avoid it. It gusts around the luminary like a tornado, stretching from the base of her feet all the way up into the sky. I'm forced to retreat. It would be suicidal to try and approach this giant from this angle. She hasn't noticed me yet, but if she turned to look at her side, it'd be game over. My body and mind would be locked in place, as though encased in cement. And having spotted me, the giant would surely send that merciless tempest my way. I have no choice but to circle around behind her as originally planned. But then what? I can't see her death, but that's not the problem here. I couldn't before either, so there's nothing to be surprised about there. The real problem is what she's transformed into. She's always been ludicrous, but with this, she's ludicrously ludicrous. Even Senpai is completely helpless before such a monster. So how the hell am I supposed to take Senpai back from an opponent like that?
逆だ。あれは一段階弱くなって小さく重いものが大きく重いものになっている。自己の感情に溺れ生命の質量定義を一段階下げたの。千年の恋も冷めかねぬ。
弱くなっている。あれで
It's kinda hard to
出力
believe.
が上がろうと欠
You know,
点が多く
considering
な
the
ればそれは
circumstances.
弱体化だよ。エレイシアには失望した。大魔術だけで十分だったものを必要以上に壊すと、あれほどの術式を展開しておいて下手くそにも程がある私ならもっとうまく使ったもの。
アルクエイドばかりか先輩にまでダメ出しか。とにかく勝ち目はあるんだな、あれ。
Roa doesn't respond. His silence signals that he doesn't share my objective. Well, whatever. I just need to get a move on. I'll put the time she's wasting on torturing Senpai to good use. If she hates Senpai so much that she doesn't even notice us, then I'll just have to dish out retribution in person.
ねえ、まだ希望があると思っているの？まさかあいつが助けに来るとか期待してる？
I hear the giant's voice. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see she's getting further away again. She's talking to the woman trapped between her fingertips, as though they were close friends. As she speaks, another one of the claws of air takes a swipe at me. They're nothing more than fierce but undirected air currents. But they're enough to eliminate any intruders without her even being conscious of them.
わかんないな。あんなやつのどこがいいの？
The distance between us keeps growing and growing. Right now, I just need to stay focused and run toward my destination.
乱暴で口が悪くて病弱で約束を守れもしないくせに善人のふりをして。
The claws of air are getting more and more intense. Even though I'm sneaking up behind her, I'm still getting pretty damn close to the luminary. So it makes sense that the air currents would lash out more fiercely than they did before, but...
あいつに比べたらトカゲの方がまだ誠実だわ。あの声も嫌い、仕草も嫌い、顔も嫌い、全部嫌い。
Okay, hold on now.
言っておくけど、 あんな奴には何もできないから。できても遠くから悪口を言うだけよ。それともそんな勇気もないかしら。そうよね、いつも言い訳ばっかりだったもの。僕は甘い仕草で初対面の女を解体することしかできない最低最悪のずるくて童顔な殺人
Bro,
鬼だっ
like,
て。
I'm seeing these still images moving and, like, you know, keyframes and whatever, but I'm, like, envisioning it being animated, like, by Ufotable. Like, this is so cool. She totally noticed me ages ago and is just ignoring me. I mean, come on.
着いた。
Distance, 10 meters. I drop down on all fours on the rooftop and get in position. The updraft around the luminary is tremendously powerful. If I don't stay low to the ground, I might get launched into the sky.
本当に同情するわシエル。運が悪いにも程がある。あんな奴を助けたりしなければあなたはもっと楽に死ねたのにね。
Oh shit. I've just about had it at this point. I don't care how much of a monster that thing is. How the hell am I supposed to sit here and plan things out? I'm not going to let this go on for another goddamn second. I mean, who wouldn't see red after watching the person they love get torn apart in front of them?
仰角22度、目測距離7メートル、歪曲距離40メートル。ここであれば接触まで 0.8 秒。
I push myself off the ground with both hands. I pump blood into both legs. With a single breath, I circulate oxygen around my entire body.
理想的なアプローチだ。
Don't fuck this up.
いい加減に。
There's only one thing I'm aiming for.
落とせ。
I've had enough of this unabashed display of cruelty. I'm going to come and slice that massive white arm of yours clean off. No effect. My route was flawless. From 60 meters in the air, my legs allowed me to leap another 30. After landing on a white arm so large it could have been a highway, I jammed my knife in at her elbow and let my momentum carry the blade all the way down her hand. But in the end, I didn't accomplish a damn thing. Forget dismembering her arm, I didn't even injure it at all. I know for a fact I ran my knife all the way down its length, but there isn't so much as a scratch on it. I couldn't see any lines, so I was under no illusion that I'd be able to dismantle it like I had in the past. But even so, I got the strength of a vampire right now. I thought that if I thrust my knife in as hard as I could, the shock would at least be enough to free Senpai from her clutches. My thoughts freeze. My perception of time stops. My attempt barely lasted a second. But that second was all it took for me to realize where I stand. I made a mistake. I overestimated myself. My predictions were overly optimistic. More fundamentally, I misunderstood the goal between us. I was trying to fight her, but she wasn't even trying to fight back. This has been nothing but an ant's futile struggle. The only reason I could even get this close is because she saw me as harmless. But that's not true anymore. There's no way she's going to ignore me after that. I won't give up, have no choice but to run. Oh shit. I mean, we got the opportunity right here, so why waste it, you know? Let's do it. Won't give up. I'm not giving up that easily. I've used up 70% of my blood and strength to get this far. There's no guarantee I'll be able to create an opening like this again. This is my only chance. I may not have been able to injure Arcueid, but that doesn't change the fact that it's now or never.
そうだ、節なら。
I wasn't able to cut through her forearm, but maybe I'll have better luck if I target the parts of her that could move. Instead of trying to slice through the skin of her forearm, I should be able to freeze Ciel Senpai if I cause enough damage to her elbow. Clutching my knife between my teeth, I start half crawling, half running up the white slope on all fours. The surface of the luminary is hot, but not hot enough that it burns my skin. It's also definitely solid. This thing's a real material being. I didn't really think of it as a living thing when I saw it as a distant landmark, but now that I've laid hands on it directly, my impressions are a little different. It feels like I'm touching a hard rock and flowing water at the same time. The luminary skin is hard, just not in the same way stone is. It's smoother and more pleasant. In a sense, it's similar to fine porcelain. Arcueid's arm just shook ever so slightly. She may not have noticed me, but given that I'm clambering over the living being, my foothold is liable to shift out from under me at any time. It's unlikely, but on the off chance she sneezed, I'd get catapulted into the air. Actually, maybe it's not that unlikely after all. Arcueid has a pretty good track record of shattering my expectations. There's always a chance I can get sent plummeting for some painfully asinine reason. I need to hurry. There's no time to waste.
よし。
I managed to reach my objective without being thrown off.
ここなら。
Stab that bitch. I grab the knife from my mouth and hold it with both hands. Her skin is a glittering white like a snowfield. With all the strength I can muster, I thrust my knife into the crook of her elbow. It broke? However, not only does it fail to penetrate her skin, but the blade snaps off and falls to the ground far below. Damn. We're fucked.
肘なら脆いはずなんて笑わせないで。どこだろうと肌の硬さは同じものでしょ。そんなこともわからなかったの？お疲れ様。いろいろとバカなことを考えていたようだけど、何もかも無駄だったわね。人の肌の上を這い回って楽しい？
Why she gotta word it like that? My mind is battered by her overpowering thoughts. In the face of such overwhelming density of thought, even humans, creatures who cannot communicate telepathically, are able to understand her words.
吐息で吹き飛ばしてあげましょうか。それともちょっと腕をひねって私の足元まで落下してみる？
I can't believe it. Just being spoken to like this is enough to place a huge strain on my mind. Ciel Senpai wasn't just being tortured physically, she had to endure it mentally as well.
Ciel. 他に考えることはないのかしら。人の心配をしていられる状況？
A thought that's not entirely ridicule or irritation reaches me. Oh, right. I'm on top of her body. Now that she's spotted me, I need to get the hell out of here.
させない。
Oh, does she use your eyes on you? My body won't move. My brain is still transmitting orders. My muscles are still free to move, and yet I don't budge an inch from where I stand. I'm putting all my strength into trying to run, but the space around my arms and legs has been pinned in place by an even stronger something.
ここまで来て逃げられると思ったの？ 私の視界に入らないうちは見逃していただけよ、おちびさん。
Yeah, Roa had warned me about this. Don't let the luminary catch sight of you. That thing can control life just by looking at it. Is this what he was talking about? It's like my body's been sewn into space itself, leaving me unable to run or fight.
ああ、そっか。目に見えるものでないとわからないんだっけ。それならちゃんと私の指で触ってあげる。
Oh god.
東方あいにくランドマークですので、繊細な力加減もお客様への気遣いもいたしませんが。
Something absolutely enormous is slowly closing in on me. It's like an airship plummeting out of the sky, or a gigantic falling tree, or maybe even the veil of night settling over the city, something from which I cannot escape, before I realize that it's actually the giant's right hand.
私が巨人なんじゃないわ。あなたたちが小さいのよ。未だに重力に縛られた生命圏、星の上っ面にあるだけの文明圏、ここで根こそぎしまってあげる。でもあなたは別。私の棚にも入れてあげない。だってまっすぐに本気で歯向かってきたんだもの。自分の小ささも把握できないところは可愛いけど、虫のように低能ならそういうものとして扱ってもいいわよね。
Well, so much for that. The giant's hand descends without mercy. I learned firsthand that in the face of such overwhelming power, fear ceases to function altogether. Instead, it is despair that brings me to my knees. The hard yet soft fingers of light squash my body slowly, as if relishing the sensation. Well, damn, that didn't come quick.
.さすがに冗談を挟める状況ではありませんね。ここからは遊びなし、迅速な Q&A を行いましょう。いいですね、そこの猫型生物。
さあ、イエスサー、了解であります、ティーチャー。あのヒロインにあるまじき大暴走、いくら美少女でも見過ごせねえ。私への風評被害も鑑みて全力でなかったことにしてやるぜ。
はい、あなたへの被害は皆無とは思いますが、そのスピード感で黙っていてくださいね。
Get that shit, get that shit.
今回は二択死亡のデッドエンドです。速やかに直前の選択肢からリトライしていただければ。
Oh.
一刻も早く囚われの先輩を助けたいという気持ちは大変嬉しいのですが、ここは冷静に。あんな反則級のアルクエイドを正面から相手にしてはいけません。交代は一手間違えれば即デッドな存在です。ともかく自分の命優先でお願いします。
Well, she going crazy over there. Just hit light speed? The fuck?
そうか、猫とはスピードとはあんまり意味のない Q&A コーナーとは。これが猫交代決勝だ。
Whoa. Oh wait, that's a multiplayer. Neko just turned into a damn black hole or some shit.
One eternity later.
Guess we just go with this, I guess? My failure hasn't left me with a lot of time to think. I'm quite literally in the palm of her hand. I'm not going to double down on these ineffective attacks. There's something else I need to be doing right now.
Senpai!
I've given up on slicing off her arm. But I'm not giving up on freeing Senpai. So that's where they were going with that decision there. Okay.
先輩情けなくてごめんでも助ける今助けるから
God, there is no life in her eyes right now. Jesus. I'm not worried about falling off. My sense of balance is so good now that I'd be fine even if I were standing on a tightrope.
ダメ逃げて早く逃げて
分かってますすぐに先輩を連れて逃げる
I thrust my knife into the massive, lineless finger. A brutal act that my former self would never have countenanced. It's no exaggeration to say that my attack could slice right through steel. But it doesn't leave so much as a scratch on the finger that pins Senpai in place.
どうして
I keep stabbing frantically at it with my knife. The blade is drenched in my own blood. A sanguine coating that increases its strength and physical durability. I don't even stop to worry about the fact that I just came up with the use for blood the same way a vampire would. The only things that weigh on my mind are the overwhelming might of my opponent, my own powerlessness at being unable to sever their arm, or even one of their fingers, and the look of anguish on Senpai's face as her abdomen is crushed right before my eyes. Even though I know it's useless, I can't stop myself from repeating the same doomed action over and over again as I cling to the giant's fingers.
今のアルカイドに干渉は無意味です私に構わず早くこの町の外に
Even as blood spews from her mouth, Blaine continues to worry about me. Seeing that only makes my racing thoughts speed even faster. Whoa, look at that eye. I freeze in place, my body completely petrified by fear.
驚いたわくだらないゴミがぶつかったと
God, we have never seen her eyes until now, and just look at them. Her unbelievable huge crimson eyes have turned to gaze disinterestedly at her hands. My thoughts, which had been racing mere seconds ago, come to a standstill. I can't breathe. I can't blink. All she did was look at me. That act alone was enough to make me forget that I'm even alive. I can't save Senpai. I can't get out of here. I can't hurt this giant. I can't do anything. The air currents get more and more ferocious the closer I get to the luminary. Even though I knew that, I still chose to approach. I can't act surprised now. The whirlwind, capable of picking up and shredding even a large tanker truck, is now on its way to swallow up the pathetic rat that was foolish enough to displease its master. I can't breathe. I can't move my legs. But Senpai is okay. She's on the other side of Arcueid's hand, in the lee, so she should be safe from this tornado. Now all that's left is for me to pay the price for my own foolishness. Strike the drains from my limbs as I accept my imminent death. I'm sent flying into the air like a leaf on the wind, my body still rigidly locked in place. I tumble down head over heels, buffeted by the white air currents. The questions of where I am, or how I softened my landing, don't even enter my mind. It's only natural. I'm well past my limits. I just hadn't noticed until now. Up until yesterday, I was someone who'd be out of breath after a light jog, and now I'm running 100 meters in 5 seconds, dashing around on top of buildings and jumping my way up giants. Every muscle in my body has been torn apart and stitched back together countless times. My metabolism is running hundreds of times faster than normal. The time that would ordinarily be used whenever I perform such healing is instead consumed by my brain. I've used up every resource I had at my disposal. My stamina, my mental fortitude, my plans for how to put an end to this, everything. There's a voice in my head that tells me I've done all I could. That not even God could come up with a way out of a situation like this. But is that really true? Deep down, there's a part of me that's shaking its head, telling me that it's still too soon to give up. You already have a means of dealing with this. You are not wrong to conclude that you must defeat the Luminary. You are wrong to attempt it in this order. I breathe out and expel the fatigue that had settled over my body. It isn't enough to restore my burned out nerves, but it's enough to lift the veil from my eyes. Stay determined, Shiki. My heart is still beating, my legs are still attached, blood is still flowing through my clenched fists. In other words, I'm still alive. By some stroke of luck, I didn't get caught up in that whirlwind, and also managed to stay in one piece despite falling from such a height.
比較的柔らかい地面だ。いいところに落とされたな。
お前。
I don't even have the energy to grumble about him still being here. I'm so mentally and physically spent that I can't muster any animosity against this guy or arcueid.
ここは地面か。
I stagger unsteadily to my feet. It's the hollow reaction of a ghost, standing only because that's something it still knows how to do. When I look up to take stock of my surroundings, I finally learn what it means to feel true despair. What the fuck are all these? Faced with the grandeur before me, a rasping sound echoes from my parched throat. I've seen this. I've seen this. I've seen something like this before. It looks just like the jungles of South America or the Yakushima forest in Japan, places I've only seen in photographs. Having made that connection, I laugh at how small I am in comparison. But this is different, in a completely different league to places like those. Anyone would surely mistake the things stretching out before me for giant trees. But they're not. Those are merely the roots. Roots akin to those of the kind of tiny flowers you can find anywhere and step on without even realizing, now blanket the earth. This visual drives home just what it was that Ro was trying to go up against. It's no surprise that she's a giant. Just as it's no surprise that we humans are practically ants to her. This place is unnaturally hot and humid, suffocated by primordial colors. Countless green veils drape themselves across the world and obscure my vision. Oxygen is scarce, and the atmosphere has grown so thick with other gases as to be poisonous to life. It is the raw savageness of nature, laughing in the face of man's cunning. This place isn't an office district anymore. It isn't the site of a fallen civilization that has been overtaken by nature either. This is a world from the impossibly distant past. A recreation of how the Earth looked in ancient times, hundreds of millions of years ago, long before mankind came into existence.
そうだ。これが惑星の霊長に知的生命体を設定しなかった場合の地球本来の植物の尺度。神祖にとって外敵への対応はこのようなもの。 人間を排除する必要も衰退させる必要もない。彼女はただ周りを強くすることで相対的に文明を矮小化させている。
The reality of the situation makes my heart stop. My body succumbs faster than my mind. She's so far beyond me that it isn't even funny. Even just challenging her was an act of sin. And yet, I was somehow able to get close. That has to count for something, so come on, let me rest already. It took all I had just to get close to Ciel-senpai. And yet, I wasn't even able to scratch one of her fingers. Not only will I never be able to get that close again, but the world around me is now completely unrecognizable.
生きてる？それとも粉々に吹き飛ばしちゃった？
Hearing her voice echoing inside my head, I look up. There, beyond the roots that show humans where they really stand, is a figure gazing down on me with unmatched arrogance.
なんだ、ちゃんとそこにいるじゃない。ごめんなさい、小さすぎて見失っちゃった。
She still holds Ciel-senpai captive in her hand. The way she's toying with her makes it clear she's only doing it to rile me up.
今まで気づいていなかったけど、これからは気をつけるわ。もっとも、もう歯向かう気持ちもないでしょうけど。
Would you look at that? I feel a fire start to burn inside my flagging heart. And not just because I want to take back Senpai, but also because of how shocking her barefaced lie was, or maybe because of how baffled and angry it made me.
お前本当に頭悪いな。
Those are some bold words for someone who's been aware of me the whole time.
はあ？意識なんてしていなかったんですけど。
You, clearly.
ぴょんぴょん飛び跳ねるだけの小虫より、こっちのおもちゃをいじった方が楽しいでしょ？
Because you still secretly have feelings for her despite the rejection? She just replied to my thoughts. So she can even read my mind. I guess that big-ass body of hers is the only thing that defies common sense. She's a goddamn telepath as well. Still, she should have just kept her mouth shut. Why would she show her hand like that just to make a dumb comment? What an unbelievable idiot.
何よりもむごく殺されたいようね、あなた。本当に気乗りはしないけど、口の減らない人間に身の程を教えてあげる。
The earth rumbles. The world itself begins to turn on me in hostility, just as it did against Ciel-senpai when she fought against Arcueid.
似た者同士の見苦しい泥の投げ合いは終わったかね。
Yeah, we're done alright. Thanks to her, I'm feeling ready to fight back one last time. On the ground, a nigh impossible to navigate hell of greenery stretches out before me. In the sky, the giant reigns over her domain, overlooking the earth. Against the luminary, whose strengths and weaknesses I still haven't grasped, I'm almost run out of stamina. I'm done here. I must have missed something the first time. I'll head up back into the sky. Oh boy, another decision that might be life or death. Honestly, I think we're better off taking the safe option. So yeah, let's just hide down here. Trying to fight her head on is out of the question. Even if I climbed back up on the top of the buildings, I don't have a plan to take her out, and she can ensnare me just by looking at me. My only option right now is to try and stay out of sight. Besides, it's not like I'm completely out of options. Fortunately for me, the ground is absolutely littered with places to hide. If I keep myself hidden among these roots, then at least she won't be able to get a clear look at me.
へえ、そ それはそれで面白いけど。
A gleeful voice rings out over the surface. The giant doesn't even turn to look at the continued futile struggle of the intruder below her, but despite that, as though mocking the outcome she knows is coming.
あなたは息をしないでも生きていられる生き物だった。
She informs me of the end that awaits me a few minutes from now. As Arcueid says, the Earth is no longer an environment in which animals can survive. It's already over 40 degrees Celsius, and the creeping fingers of greenery continue to grow and fill in the remaining gaps. But more pressingly, I can't breathe properly. Maybe photosynthesis simply isn't possible down here, or maybe the plants just consume so much oxygen that there isn't any left to share with larger animals. So cutting them release that oxygen? Maybe? I don't know, just throwing ideas out
人
there.
類が知る原生植物ではあるが、その規格、強靭さはまるで別物だな。
言ってる場合か。酸素が吸えなかったら血液も濁る。吸血鬼にとって致命的じゃないのか、それは。
酸素結合による血液の正常化に頼る人であれば、まだ人間部分を残している糖の式には致命的だな。
そうかよ。じゃあ何分持つ？
肉体を稼働させなければ1時間。まだ続けるというのなら確かな保証はもうできない。
So in other words, I could drop dead any minute if I keep on running around. I didn't exactly need him to tell me that. I'm seriously hitting my limit this time. My vision is starting to blur just from clambering around through the gaps in the massive roots. Even with my glasses off, I don't feel any pain from looking at the lines of death. I guess even that self-protection mechanism stopped working. Despite all that,
死の線とやらを見続けている。私にはお前が見ているものは理解できない。死の捉え方。生の結論において我々には共有できる余地がない。いや、私はその理解を良しとしない。
I'm grateful Ro is so talkative. His chatter helps to revive my fading consciousness. For now, I'll just keep on moving, with my eyes peeled to the world around me. I'm certain that the thing I'm looking for lies somewhere beneath those roots.
その精神の強靭さは評価に値する。糖の式の肉体は限界を迎えている。身体機能の原則に免疫機構が追いついていない。ここで休息と栄養の補給をしなければ、酸素があろうとなかろうと心臓は停止する。
くそ。人の体だと思ってはっきり言いやがって。
そうだな。この肉体の存続と私の存続に関連性はなくなった。まさに他人事というやつだ。
Wait, what does he mean by... The roots just won't stop growing. Roa tells me that I'll die if I keep on running, but I'll also be crushed to death if I stop. I have to keep moving while there are still gaps to move through. It pains me to have to retreat from Arcueid, but right now there's something more important I have to do. It's for that reason that I've hidden myself away down here like some insignificant insect. Humanity has been exterminated. That is no metaphor or hyperbole. All events that fall within the range of her vessel's awareness have been stored away. That which had once been Arcueid does not move from where it manifested. It simply towers there, overlooking the firmament-covered world.
変わらない。変わらない。私は変わってはいない。
It's not like she herself has grown larger, nor has the world shrunk. The princess of the true ancestors has always perceived the world this way. After all, in the eyes of the planet, there is little difference between something large and something small.
なのに
At the luminary's core, at the place that would correspond to the human heart, there is pain. Something is wrong. The way she has become is unacceptable. The light in her chest is begging her to return to her original output form as quickly as possible. So that form has a time limit? So I just gotta draw it out? But now that the dam is broken, there's no going back. She doesn't want to stop, and even if she did, she doesn't know how. It's fun, yet sad. It feels good, yet terrifying. These conflicting directives, these mutually exclusive logic errors, they urge her to keep going, to run wilder and wilder. However, the object of her observations appear not to have given up and has shamefully hidden themselves down below. Even though she wants nothing more than to brutally kill him, the thought of him going off and dying on his own irritates her. That said, she could never raise her hand against him directly. She considers that object unfit to even lay eyes on. Why should she pay attention to it? Why should she look at it? She doesn't care about that thing. She must never care about it.
まあいいわ
She averts her gaze from the puny civilization now wrapped in primordial weeds. One of the two people who are allowed to remain in this world is still clutched in her hand.
私には殺しても死なないおもちゃがあるものね
Smiling sadistically, she once again luxuriates in the feeling of life between her fingertips. From the world at her feet comes a stream of abuse she cannot stand the sensation, sound of, yet she pays it no attention at all.
ねえそうでしょ潰しても潰しても元に戻るお人形さでもちょっとだけ見直したわしぶといのは体だけじゃないんだものまだ理性があるなんてどうなってるのシエル
She addresses the human desperately squirming between her fingertips. She has already butted heads with this human on countless occasions. Even at the best of times, she would never tire of tearing the executor limb from limb, but in this moment, she feels a strange sense of solidarity with her, though it only serves to make her cooler.
私がロアを取り込んでしまえばあなたは私が死ぬまで生き続けるしかなくなるあなたが死ぬためには天聖批判の聖典でロアを殺さないといけない
それがどうしたって言うんですか
A bleary, half-conscious voice responds. The woman trapped between the two massive white fingers completes the most recent of her countless resurrections.
けれどいいのロアが死ぬということはあなたも死ぬということなのよロアを消滅させてしまえばあなたのこのいたぶりがいのある体も普通のつまらない体に戻ってしまう
それが私の望みです
そうかわいそうねあなたの望みは叶えられない私は今度こそロアを取り込む何もできずに逃げ回るだけの肉塊を何万回と引き裂いてね
Arcueid inflicts yet another fatal wound on the undying doll. She crushes the executor slowly, indulgently, as if putting on a show for the jungle down below her. However, even as the executor's anguished cries are wrung out of her along with her organs, there is no despair in her voice. In fact, there is a distinct light in her eyes.
何その目不愉快だわ何か言った
本当にどうしようもないと。
Even though her life lies at the mercy of a single finger, the executor smiles fearlessly.
まったく一度殺されたくせにまだ彼を分かっていないのですね、あなたは。
It is the smile of someone who has complete faith in the other humans still remaining, the smile of a victor. I half run, half crawl through this serpentine jungle of roots. My fingertips have started to go numb from a lack of oxygen, and I've lost the use of my left hand after using it to haul myself around. The lines of death are beginning to converge, which means this must be the place. It has to be around here somewhere. Yeah, that point like at the field. The sooner I find that spot, the sooner I...
私には殺しても死なないおもちゃがあるものね。
Still not paying attention clearly. I hear a voice coming from above. Shit, my anchor is going to knock me unconscious before my lack of oxygen can. She's just smugly talking to herself. It wasn't even meant to try and lure me out. All she's doing is harassing her.
しぶといな。やっぱりロア本人を殺さないとあなたは死なないみたいね、シエル。
She's just killing Senpai to kill some time. If I'm the one she hates so much, she should be killing me instead. She could easily use one of those tornadoes to just blow me away along with these roots. But instead, she acts like she doesn't care about me at all. Even as she toys with the person who's most important to me.
そう、かわいそうね。あなたの望みは叶えられない。私は今度こそロアを取り込む。何もできずに逃げ回るだけの肉塊を何万回と引き裂いてね。
Stay focused. My skull and spine start to feel immaterial. I'm so nauseous that it's like my intestines have been turned inside out. I completely lose sense of what it means to feel alive.
おい、境界を越えているぞ。
I don't care. She's dead. I don't give a damn what she is. I'm going to fucking kill her. Look. I don't give a shit about Roa right now. I'm not going to let her lay another finger on Senpai. Look. Stare so hard that all the blood vessels in your brain risk burning out from the strain. Look, 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 look. I was going about it all wrong. If I want to kill, then this is what comes first. Maybe he's right. I can see the death of life. I can see the death of minerals. I can even see the death of emptiness. But I can't see a single line on the luminary. Arcueid still doesn't have a single damn cause of death.
何それ、自殺する気？
I hear a mocking voice. But I shouldn't let that fool me. She doesn't have that kind of pride. The only reason she's turned to look at me with those red eyes is because she sensed that I'm a threat. A solitary, insignificant little ant has drawn her attention. So I have to hurry. I already know what it is I'm looking for. I realized it a few minutes ago, when I first entered the city.
いいわ。こっちの虫で遊ぶのは後回し。
She doesn't need to steal blood from living things like a dead apostle would. Someone once told me that so long as she exists within nature, she is the perfect life form. True ancestors, who are extensions of nature itself, can draw as much energy as they want from the planet. And so, she can't die. She has no limits. But phrased the other way, she's only perfect so long as she exists within nature. A disturbance. She can even read our minds. I can't hide anything from her. Knowing that, I try to avoid thinking clearly on my way here. But I can't keep it up much longer. Once I see it, I'm not going to be able to stop the word from popping into my head. But she won't immediately be able to glean what it is. There will be a 1-second delay before my mind can even comprehend this trump card. There it is. I crawl out of the underbrush. With every last bit of stamina, blood, and energy left in me, I run at full speed toward that point. I sense the powerful being far above me gasp. But she's too late. It'll take her a second to get here. Serves her right. She's so huge that she can't move quickly. It takes too long for the signals to propagate from her brain to her limbs. I'll reach it before that second is up. I only have to get within range. Just this part of it is enough. I was going about it all wrong. Arcueid doesn't have any causes of death. However, if I kill the thing that nullifies those causes of death, then she will no longer be a perfect being. Should at least weaken her, right? If not, outright kill her. I reached a conspicuously large point. Finally, I'm going to get one over on her. My eyes are on fire. My raised right hand groans from the stress. This point represents the life running through the earth veins. I angle my knife toward the depth of the world around me.
そういうこと？
Shank? My knife comes slicing down through the emptiness. That did something, right? Whoa, what the fuck is that? The point on the earth vein vanishes without a trace. But not because I killed it. That point, along with all the lines that had converged on it, got sucked up through the base of the luminary and vanished from my sight.
審査の企画によるものではなく、交代による自傷収納。
Ro's voice slips into my ear. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? Are you telling me that monsters seriously just confiscated the world's lines of life, the very vitality of the planet? That's fucking busted. Just Kirby inhaled all the lines of death, huh? Sure. Alright, what are you doing now? What are you doing right now? The anomaly continues, not content with merely storing away the earth veins. A black vortex forms directly beneath the luminary. Piece by piece, the primordial vegetation and husks of what were once buildings are swallowed up by the vortex. You're not walking, are you? Because I saw legs. The giant of light appears to sway. I don't have any time to stop and wonder what that signifies. The very world itself is getting sucked into that vortex. The ground I stand on is being pulled toward Arcueid, like someone's yanking on one end of a tablecloth. Ro's voice snaps me out of my daze. On second thought, I'm just as dazed as I was before. Not only was my final shred of hope trampled on, but now I'm also staring down the barrel of an end of the world, even worse than it was a moment ago. How could I possibly think straight after all that? The only reason my limbs responded to Roa's voice is because of an instinctive desire to head towards safety. The world of man is disappearing before my very eyes. The event storage arcueid unleashed while still in her original form was nothing compared to this. What the luminary is doing isn't storage so much as pulverization. Not satisfied with simply stripping the buildings clean, she's now washing the very existence down the sink. If it weren't for Roa's warning, I too would have been caught in the luminary's vortex, flattened paper thin and tossed into the backside of the world.
随分と生意気なことを考えるのね。
A breathless, pained voice emanates from somewhere. But the luminary vampiress doesn't turn to look at me.
本気になっちゃった。頭に来たから殺してあげる。
Instead, she unleashes her limitless power in the direction of her pathetic vanquished foe. Oh lord. Panting heavily, I run across the roofs of the erstwhile buildings. Maybe I need to reevaluate how strong humans are, or at least give them some credit for their tenacity. Even though any and all hope is lost, my body still hasn't given up on the will to live. I trace the exact opposite vector that I did before. The buildings are gradually sinking as if caught in quicksand, and yet in order to get away from the luminary, I have no choice but to sprint across them. A single building will only hold out for a minute at best. Before that minute is up, I have to evaluate where to jump next, which building looks like it'll last a little longer, and make that leap to the next safe zone. The mighty claws of air arrive to crush my paltry resistance. I'm not going to make it, traveling at only 50 kilometers an hour. No, traveling by simply running and jumping like a human isn't going to be enough to dodge that whirlwind. Jumping from building to building could only carry me so far. I need something more dynamic, something that doesn't involve so many steps.
All
of a sudden, Shiki's gonna be fucking flying like the wing cap in Mario 64. Or that.
左腕の神経を魔術回路として使わせてもらった。何？アトラクションだよ。アトラクション。自分で運動エネルギーを発生させ、それによって飛ぶというのは手間が多い。せっかく重力があるんだ。飛ぶのではなく、落下する方が効率的だ。
なんだそれ！
Well, I get his logic at least. I didn't just jump over to this building. The building itself pulled me toward it, and I fell horizontally. If I were to picture it, it's like there's an invisible rubber band between me and the destination, the point I'm falling toward, and that's what's pulling me along.
問題は着地の衝撃だ。今のお前の体であれば耐えられる。もっとも引力操作も安くはない。多用すれば回路が焼けつく。その場合、次は左足を使うことになる。
焼き付くって具体的には？
焼き付くは焼き付く。物理的に燃えるんだから灰になるだろう。
Why is this asshole being so straightforward all of a sudden? The whirlwind is closing in. The air currents whipping around the luminary have become so strong they're picking up hunks of debris. If I don't put at least 300 meters or so between me and the luminary, I won't be able to escape that whirlwind. The only problem is that the world is already moving at 50 kilometers an hour the other direction. Since this event storage nonsense is creating its own gravitational pull, I'll get swallowed up if I don't at least maintain that speed. In order to put the required distance between me and the luminary, I'll have to travel faster than human legs are capable of. The draft of the whirlwind scraping away at the building I'm on sends me flying into the rooftop of the next building over. I slam back first into the smooth surface and keep rolling for about 20 meters. I dig in with my left hand to try and stop myself from slipping off. Even though this is the roof of a building, there aren't any fences around to arrest my fall. If I slide off the edge, there'll be nothing I can do to stop myself from tumbling down and being swallowed up by the massive vortex.
紐は意識できたのだろう。落下してもリカバリーは効くはずだ。そもそも今なぜ引力操作をしなかった？
Well, because I'm not stupid enough to overuse something that'll burn my nerves to ash. I'm not going to use gravity manipulation to pull myself around unless I have no other option. Then again, given that my mind is just about done for anyway, maybe I shouldn't be stressing too much over my left arm burning up. There's no strength left in my body. I can't breathe, regardless of how much oxygen is in the air. I don't have enough fuel in the tank to drive my body forward anymore. I'm not all that hungry, but I'm seriously craving some fresh blank right now. No, stop it. I don't need any blank. If I drank that, I'd never be able to go back to the way I was. I'm assuming that's blood. Right now, I just want to sleep and get some rest. 1 minute. That's all I'm asking for. Just let me stop what I'm doing and clear my thoughts. I scrape what strength I gather from the bottom of the barrel and turn it into one last sip of energy. I desperately spur my flagging body to stand up, run, and leap across to the first building that catches my eye. By some stroke of luck, this building seems to be beyond the reach of the updraft. That wall-like whirlwind isn't coming after me anymore. But be that as it may, as of this moment, I'm completely and utterly spent. My stamina, energy, and will to fight back against that giant have all evaporated. I haven't had so much as a second's rest until now, because if I stopped, I'd die. I chose to continue running away because I had no way to fight back. Whatever the case, she hasn't forgiven me because she's a complete and utter idiot. It is for those 3 reasons that the strength drains from my limbs. Every single fuel gauge I have reads 0. Even though I have yet to take a fatal injury, my body has already reached its limit. Night-night.
ほら、やっぱり。
Sensing that the insect scuttling around the periphery of her body has run out of strength, she smiles in satisfaction. The insect had cried out every time it was buffeted by the raging winds, but it was too small for its voice to reach her ears. Although she's a little disappointed that she didn't get to savor it, in her current stage she doesn't need to hear his voice. After all, the thoughts and feelings of every single being within her domain are subconsciously transmitted straight to her.
初めからその程度。分かっていないのはあなたの方だったじゃない。
She directs her breath at the prisoner held captive between her fingertips. There's no response. It seems the massage she gave her earlier was a little too much. Even though her body has restored itself after being turned into mincemeat, it seems her mind has yet to recover. Sighing at how worthless her toy has become, she extends her left hand and then turns her palm downward. It's the sort of gesture one would use when throwing out a piece of garbage clutched in their fingers.
もういいわ。 ここでお別れね、シエル。いつか気が向いたらそこから出してあげる。
To her, that act serves as both revenge and punishment for the conceited executor. She can't believe Ciel would say something like that she didn't get him at all. What a complete joke. It's Ciel who doesn't get him. Nobody out there gets him better than she does. She can sense him even now. She can fully grasp his heartbeat and his body temperature and his pulse and his immune system. His bones, his hair and his tongue and his throat and his organs. His whining pleas and his scathing remarks and his anger and his frustration. All of it. She holds it all in the palm of her hand. There's nothing about him she doesn't get.
そう。だからこれでおしまい。もう一歩も動けないもの、あいつ。
The executor is discarded from a height of 80 meters. Under normal circumstances, she'd crash into the ground a few seconds later, nothing left but a gruesome corpse. But at the feet of the luminary is the wide-open maw of an event-storing vortex. Instead of being dashed into pieces against the ground, the executor will be transformed into a planar event, deprived of her freedom and forced to suffer for all eternity, a fate which offers no chance at salvation. Now that she has become a luminary, her predictions are absolute. Both Executor Ciel's fate and the humans know Roa's actions. They must happen as she has foretold. That's how it works. The predictions of the Almighty cannot ever be wrong. That's just how powerful she is, how all-encompassing her perception is. If her predictions were to be incorrect, it would be an insult to the world itself, nothing short of irrefutable proof of her own incompetence. So obviously... The events transpiring before her eyes come as a complete shock, so much so that she completely forgets the obligations she must follow after reforming into a luminary. Clinging to the wall of a building, I concentrate all of my blood in my legs and execute an impossible leap. I didn't even stop to think. As soon as I saw what was happening, my body instantly went from 0 to 60. Get ready to catch ya! A bolt from the blue arcs across the crimson skies. I don't care. Apparently it came as an earth-shattering surprise to her. I don't care. And I mean, it's not like this is some miraculous strength of will or anything. My limit just has nothing to do with it. What can I say? I guess even when I'm out of willpower, I'm never out of love. The power of love is far beyond paltry things like energy, after all.
Senpai!
It was a leap with no backup plan, no thoughts spared for self-preservation. It was all I could think of. She was all I could see. What else was I supposed to do? At any rate, I'll catch her in midair. Once I've done that, then I'll start thinking about what to do next. Nope. Ciel-senpai's body suddenly stops falling. She starts floating upward again, almost like gravity has lost its grip on her, sailing back toward that giant's chest. Spider-Man, bitch.
そんなのありか?
Her foul play rekindles the anger that had burned in me before. I can't believe her. She just said she'd gotten bored of Senpai, so what the hell is she doing playing take-backsies now? But her injustices don't end there. After raising Ciel-senpai back up to chest height, she flicks her away with a single finger. It's hard to say, but I swear she was pouting as she did it. I hear the echoing sound of a hard object being struck. Arcueid's flick sent Senpai streaking across the night sky like an arrow in flight. When she finally crash lands, it's outside the bounds of the event storage at our school.
え
Does she know no bounds? I mean, treating Senpai like a pinball is one thing, but the fact that she did it without even thinking just beggars belief. She's just relinquished her grip on the biggest reason for me to stay here, Ciel Senpai. Not only that, but she flicked her all the way to the school, a place she can't even reach. Rose said earlier that the luminary can't move. In which case, if I can find a way to slip out of this domain and get back to the school, then victory will be...
ま、やっちゃったことは仕方ないか。
Her voice is no doubt accompanied by a cruel smirk.
落としたゴミは拾いに行かないと。
Even though I should be used to it by now, the Luminary's transformation takes me completely by surprise. The giant humanoid slowly begins to walk, almost like it's flaunting its majestic appearance to the tiny human below.
そこで見ていなさい。
So, Roa, what was that about her not being able to
ドアの
walk?
隅かごと、
So that
あ
was
な
just
た
a
たち
fucking
の思い出
lie.
を踏み潰してあげる。
I'm so stunned that I even forget to badmouth her like usual. I'm witnessing the birth of the most haughty and selfish vampiress on the planet, one who cast off her only weak point, her immobility, simply because she felt like it. The sight of something this large in motion, no matter what it may be, is enough to enrapture the mind of any sapient being. It is something magnificent, something awe-inspiring, something that stands apart from our own little worlds. Animals sense that it is their leader. Humans revere it as a god. Such is the calamity which has just begun moving before my very eyes. Her stride is long, but I can't sense the impact of each footfall at all. Even though such a colossal body is shifting its weight around, the ground beneath us doesn't so much as tremble. I was able to run around on her arm, so she has to have mass. Given the volume of that body, she must weigh hundreds, no, thousands of tons. Then again, this luminary business is already something that defies human comprehension. I'm not going to be able to unravel this mystery no matter how hard I think about it. The massive vortex that opened up under the luminary's feet is still going strong. The office district around her is leveled with each dignified stride forward. Not only have her blind spots all but disappeared now that she can move, but I still have no way of injuring her. In fact, if she felt like it, she could just reach out and grab me directly. When I spell it all out like that, it kinda sounds like there's nothing I can do anymore, and yet... Is that a point? I can vividly see something that wasn't there before. No, I can't be focusing all my attention on the luminary like this. This was my only chance to go rescue Senpai. But will I even be able to? I'd have to chase after that behemoth, overtake it, and make it back to where Senpai landed at the school before she does.
いや、エレイシアの救出が目的である。その冒険の必要はない。ある意味、お前の勝ちだ。このまま行けば、あの女は自滅する。
Roa's statement thaws my frozen mind. The thought process that had been stunned by the luminary's sudden mobility coalesced back into the shape of Tonoshiki.
どういうことだそれ。
抗体が惑星の環境を初期化するシステムに過ぎない。強大なその権能は個人の目的で使われてはならない受け皿の問題だ。惑星規模のエネルギーを自分のために使えば神祖であろうと器が耐えられない。それは姫君であろうと例外ではない。これまでの彼女は惑星の報復機能だ。自らの意志で動き出した以上、それは生命。今の彼女には生命としての死が存在する。
Huh, so that's what I saw so vividly before.
過度な自傷収納と特定人物への一方的な感情で、あれは暴走状態に入っている。おそらく思考したことが止められないのだろう。限界を超えて稼働し続ける発電所のようなものだ。このまま放置すれば抗体現象は停止する。アルクエイド・ブリュンスタッドという神祖の消滅とともに。
But...
千年の追跡もここまでとは。私やお前にとってはこれ以上はない結末だ。
There's no way in hell that's the best outcome. It isn't even close.
おい、
She's self-destructing? Are you serious? You're telling me that once this uncharacteristic and disgraceful rampage of hers is over, she's just going to disappear? And for what? Nothing?
それ止められないのか。
本気か。
Yeah, dead serious.
では正気か。エレイシアを救出し、姫君から逃げ延びるのがお前の勝利条件だと理解しているか。
Nope, I didn't understand that at all. Well, I have been fighting to rescue Ciel-senpai. It's not like it was ever my goal to kill Arcueid. Honestly, I can't believe I'm only realizing this now. It's a wonder I haven't been killed yet. Just as she never saw me as an enemy, I never saw her as one either.
その結果がこれだ。愚かしいにも程がある。
But there's still hope. At least, there is if I act now. I can still avert that worst-case outcome, the one where I continue to run away, never rising to meet her best efforts with my own.
交代であることが間違いなら、アルクエイドが自滅する前に、あの交代を殺してやる。
それは正しい。唯一の正解。
Yeah, so I guess stalling the timer would be the worst outcome then. Okay. How do I plan on taking down the luminary? Great question. How am I going to defeat an opponent that I couldn't even get close to, let alone injure?
もちろん俺だけじゃ不可能だ。点は見えても近づく手段がない。あのデカブチの心臓に触れるには、一度完全に無力化する必要がある。
つまり。
Even though her greatest matchcraft would have sufficed, she destroyed the princess far more than was necessary, deploying that many magecraft formulae for such a pitiful amateur display. Were it me, they would have been employed far more skillfully. Those words have been bothering me for a while now. This asshole doesn't say stuff without reason. Those scathing remarks are his way of pointing out my mistakes. And if I don't get it despite his hints, then that's my problem, not his, basically. In which case...
お前、切り札を持ってるだろ。
Would it have something to do with that sparkle in the sky? There's no response. Ro does not gloat, nor does he praise his own problem student for arriving at the answer. Instead, he quietly poses a question.
まだ心は折れない。
He inquires where my heart lies, just as any eminent theologian would.
もう何度も折れてる。治りが早いだけだ。
その場合、懲りないというのが正しい。
You can say that again.
いいから、いい加減力を貸せ。俺が死んだら困るんだろ、お前も。
私が協力する道理がない。お前が玉砕しようと、姫君が消滅しようと、 私の価値に変動はない。
It's the emotionless response of a machine. Yeah, Roll would say that, wouldn't he? He doesn't care so long as he can perpetuate his reincarnation and his attachment to Arcueid. There's no reason for him to take a risk here, no reward. Right. Roll always wins. Which is exactly why I know he wouldn't be able to handle what I'm about to say.
いいのかよ。俺たちは揃ってあいつに相手にもされていないんだぞ。
There's a stunned silence. Now that I think about it, those words are the only way I've ever been able to hurt him. The vampire who devoted himself to prolonging his existence above all else. The stoic man whose voyage has spawned millennia.
確かに。それは屈辱だ。
Speaks those words with the sort of weary grin you'd never expect from a theologian.
10秒、体力の回復に専念し、それがお前に残された砂時計の最後の砂だ。
I don't need Roa to tell me that. I'm a sprinter looking to set a new record. I look down at my long-suffering body. I've scared to death over and over again at this point, and grown less and less human with each of those encounters. This is my honest-to-God final challenge, both as a human and as a vampire. Deep breaths. Before I surrender myself to fate, I take 10 seconds to draw a long, deep breath. 1. I rejuvenate my blood by inhaling fresh oxygen. I relax my stiffened arteries and knit my shredded muscle tissue back together. 2. As I focus my nerves on repairing the damage to my body, I estimate the distance between me and the luminary. 3. By eye, it looks like she is 400 meters away. On foot, I'll actually have to cover about 4,000. 4. It will take me 1 minute to reach the luminary. In order to regain that minute's worth of stamina, I have to rest for at least 10 seconds. 5. Even now, the giant is making her way toward the school. Still, I suppress the urge to run after her and focus on my breathing. 6. Even now, the luminary is en route to her own destruction. 7. I don't know if she'll completely ignore me like she did before, or face me directly, but either way, her opposition is going to be the fiercest it's ever been. 8. The mere thought of it makes my blood run cold. 9. Is what I'm doing worth it? Is there any meaning in putting my life on the line for her, especially when it means putting the woman I love to one side? 10. Is that even a question? I banish all thoughts from my mind and begin my final pursuit. Go, Shiki, go! As the giant strolls through the forest of buildings, I bound across the valleys between them. Getting close to the luminary is easy. Since the buildings I'm jumping off are being sucked in by her event storage, they're helping me accelerate toward her. It's like I have a tailwind at my back. The luminary looms even larger on the horizon. I'm not going to circle around her or turn back. I'm going to keep my sights locked on her white body and make a beeline straight for her. Even though it's little more than a thumbtack to her, my knife is still gripped in my left hand. The claws of air are unleashed. It's a bit late to correct myself now, but given their size, they're more like whole hands than just claws. Instead of shooing away an insect with the tip of your finger, it's more like violently trying to swat it with your palm. I hold out my right hand toward a building 60 meters ahead of me. As soon as I set that rooftop as my landing site, my body falls horizontally through the air. I've reached the edge of the massive vortex. There's nothing in front of me but the luminary itself. All the buildings I've been using as footholds are behind me now. If I want to make the jump over to the luminary, it has to be from here. The luminary doesn't say anything. Even now, she refuses to turn and look at me. Honestly, she's as stubborn as they come. All she has to do is turn her head ever so slightly and she'd be able to ensnare me with her mystic eyes, then kill me as cruelly and meticulously as she likes. Though, I guess this does achieve the same result. Without anywhere to escape to, there's no way I can avoid this claw of air. I'm whisked up into the sky above the luminary, together with the pulverized remains of the building I've been standing on. The updraft that winds its way around the luminary carries me higher and higher. Since I don't have any wings, my fate was sealed the second my feet left the ground. Will I perish like a tiny insect swept up by the wind? Or perhaps you can use this updraft to your advantage?
アトラクション160、250、300メートル地点の岩盤に連続設置。
A lot of rubble got sent flying along with me. Taking advantage of those dubious flying stepping stones, I used them as anchor points for my gravitational turns.
1分経過。交代直上400メートル地点を確認。上出来だ。撃つのはこちら、制御はそちらに任せる。
And together we soar into the sky as though falling in reverse. Rolla told me something. If all I wanted was to defeat the luminary, then there does exist a way to do it.
実のところ、あの大魔術にまだ使い残しの星が残っている。膨大な魔力量を持つエレイシアらしいおごりだよ。あの娘は必要以上の火力を用意できるのだ。それゆえ工夫する努力を放棄しがちだ。オーバーキルも結構だがね。わずかな魔力でも像を倒す努力もしろと伝えておけ。まあ、暗躍すらできないあの性格ではミクロ単位の精密作業は一生できないだろう。
Rolla had mocked Senpai's ultimate move for being wasteful. It makes sense that he would, as someone who is reincarnated 17 times, who has built upon the secrets of magecraft with each of those many lives. He is merely stating a fact when he claims that he could execute her greater magecraft more precisely and efficiently.
成層圏のあの星にはまだ太陽熱が残っている。あれを使えば 交代の首を切る程度は可能だ。ただし、狙いをつける中継地点が必要だ。交代の上空400メートルに射角を調整する生きた力板。
The star from the guillotine flares up in the empty sky. Yep. As if memorized by its brilliance, she emotionlessly raises her featureless face to meet it. God, look at that face. He is serious.
一度きりの残りかすら外すなよ。こうして
Condensed and accelerated to its breaking point, my last remaining arrow. The Star of Calvaria is unleashed. The shot loosed from the stratosphere isn't something that a mere human, or rather, a single tiny magic circuit like mine could ever control.
成層圏から緩やかに滑り落ちてくるものをお前を視点にして一度曲げるだけだ。手を添えて下に落とす。魔術師であれば誰にでもできる単純な作業だ。
In my hands is a flailing whip of electricity. I can barely even keep hold of the reins. How the hell am I supposed to guide it straight down? What part of this is a simple matter of precision, asshole? This is more like trying to pass the contents of a dam through the eye of a needle. I have to apply force to keep the current under control. But I also have to keep a light touch or I won't be able to aim it. Whoa, look at that thing go. This is like trying to steer a raging bull with nothing but a flimsy pair of chopsticks. You just can't do it. Correcting its course is impossible. Adjusting its trajectory is a fool's errand. There is no chance in hell I can manage to hit her with this. I can't line it up. I can't aim it. I can't control it. It's over. It's over. It's over. I'm gonna blow my last chance. If I don't do something, all the solar energy is going to be wasted on burning some random patch of land to a crisp. Whoa. It's starting to look like one of those light drawing pictures. The way things are going, I really am going to waste my shot. Rolla has gone silent. He hasn't chimed in to give his opinion on the situation. I can't even sense his presence at all. He decided his job was done, then nonchalantly left his existence in my hands. Rolla, the infinite reincarnator, entrusted me with this final attack, then just up and vanished on me. I'm the only one left here now. Just me. Just Shiki. There's nobody else that I can rely on. Rolla had deemed such help unnecessary. And he's right. I need to calm down. When in a pinch, I need to calm down first, and then carefully think things over. I can't make any fine adjustments to his course. I can't get this torrent of power under control. Of course I can't. I'm looking at this the wrong way. I'm not able to deftly and accurately manipulate the forces of nature. But what we humans can do is put in the time. We can compromise, we can grind away at something relentlessly, and still get there even if we have to take the long way around. Yeah. Instead of trying to line it up with the precision and flawless efficiency of a genius, instead of taking the shortest route possible, I'll take the longest one instead. I'll maneuver it in a nice, wide arc. It's always good to think outside the box. If the course is big enough, then it doesn't matter if my steering isn't as good. If I can avoid having to work against the raging current. If I stabilize it by surrounding myself to the flow of surging power. Then I can do it. This is it. Our rendezvous only lasts for a fleeting second. I can see her face. The luminary is a test for the human senses. Roa mentioned this before. From afar, it will appear as something frightening. but those up close will be shown the truth. As such, when I get close enough that I can almost touch her, when I get close enough that our eyes can meet, I finally catch a glimpse of that truth. She's so beautiful. It reminds me of how I felt when I first saw her. It reminds me of how I felt time and time again since. It reminds me of the flower of the moon, who forgave even a murderer like me. Even under these circumstances, no, precisely because of these circumstances, it reminds me of just how worthless of a person I am. No matter what happens after this, no matter who it is that I love, I will always hold a different kind of admiration for this beautiful being. Even though I do not dream, I will spend my whole life yearning for that what if. Yearning for a world in which we never met, one like a flower blossoming within my breast. The flame of Calvaria pierces the giant lording over civilization, straight through from temple to toe. After the bullet of light has ripped all the way through to the massive vortex at her feet, the white body starts to disperse into its constitute particles. But it doesn't feel like I've won. There's no exhilarating feeling of accomplishment, because everything that's happened so far was still within the realm of possibility. Earlier, Roa had asked if all I wanted to do was defeat the Luminary. Regardless of how roundabout it might have been, that was an actual hint. This isn't over just because I defeated her. The hard part is what comes next. Roa never told me anything about how to deal with the phenomenon that will appear after the Luminary has been defeated. In other words, what's about to happen is the Luminary is a system meant for resetting the surface of the planet. Its majestic figure now fades away, as if to reveal the mysteries it had once cloaked. I muttered to myself without even thinking, almost as if I'd known what was about to take place. Whoa, what the fuck? Is that a supernova or some shit? The particles of the Luminary coalesce around a 2-meter diameter sphere. Even though I don't have a clue what that thing is, the records of the vampire that had shared my mind until recently fill in the blanks. The upheaval has come. Whoa, these effects are insane. The celestial egg. The memories of the planet. As a boy, Michael had sought to know everything. As a man, Roa had sought to define God's love, to define eternity. Though he has already lost this opportunity to do so, a fragment of that wish has now appeared upon the earth. Jesus, look at these colors. Space is being overwritten. The heavens are ablaze. The light given off is blinding. It's an impossible sight. Or at least one impossible to see by gazing skyward from our planet. The universe is inherently dark, even though an infinite number of stars shine within it. They have not the time nor the density to light up its infinite expanse. The universe as seen from Earth contains only 13.8 billion light years worth of information. Such a paltry light source could never hope to illuminate the dark and cold reaches of the universe. However, what if the universe's expansion was still in its early stages? What if we assumed that blank exists? If that were true, a crimson cosmos would be emitted. That newest and most distancing thing of all. By the way, I have no idea what that long-ass blank means. This is a conceptual universe. A region that no life on Earth remembers. A set of laws beyond mankind's observation. The infinite yet minuscule hollow of the cosmos that reaches into its furthest depths. The sole anomaly caught within this raging torrent, I fall at speeds that do not exist in reality. I exceed the first cosmic velocity, the speed at which an object can attain orbit. Then the second cosmic velocity, the speed at which an object can escape the planet's gravity altogether. And finally, the third cosmic velocity, the speed at which an object can escape even the gravitational pull of the sun. I pass by countless stars, countless beginnings. I pass by events that you wouldn't see no matter how far you stretch the lifespan of the human race. Irrelevant, uninteresting. Right now, all I care about is that one light. I use gravity manipulation to control where I land. I fall straight down toward the heart of the luminary, 200 meters below me. It makes no attempt to counterattack. How could it? It's completely defenseless. I've quite literally stripped it naked. Still, when you consider that only the center column of the luminary got vaporized, it's clear that these conditions won't last. The luminary will soon return to normal. So before it can, I'll dismantle that heart. I'm going too fast to stop at the heart. The best I can do is pass by it as I fall. I'll only be in range for a split second. I brace myself for contact. I hold the knife gripped in my right hand level with my chest. Heart might actually not be such an improper label. It has no visible lines or points of death. The vigorous heartbeat of life. The cemetery of stars from which all originates and to which all returns. It's like a celestial egg, both hot and cold at the same time. Killing it is impossible for the current tone of shiki. But there's no need to kill it. In consequence of its perfection, a single scratch is all it takes for it to lose its worth. If all that needs to be done is wake her from her dreams, then even a measly human is more than capable. Giga Druru Breka! So, is that it? Meaning, color returns to the world. I don't really know for sure just how far that storage had spread. Arcueid had been the one behind it, so when I took her down, it effectively nullified the confiscation of meaning that had been taking place, rendering all the collateral damage from my battle something that never happened. Exhaustion hits me all at once, and I flop down on the ground. The world may have gone back to normal, but since I wasn't stored along with it, the damage to my body didn't become something that never happened. My limbs have been injured and regenerated countless times. My internal organs barely even function after the steady stream of abuse I've heaped on them. I've run out of calories to burn. I'm short on blood. It's a miracle I'm even still conscious. I don't have the strength or even the ability to breathe properly anymore. Only now that I've sat down do I even realize that this is the school athletics field. It seems like the luminary was only a couple of steps from reaching the school.
なんだ。最後の最後に悪運に恵まれたのか。
I address Roa, the man who helped me pull off this miraculous feat. There's no reply. The strange feeling inside my head is gone as well. Even the viscerally sickening feeling on my body transforming into that of a vampire is gone. It's not like I didn't realize he was gone. And yeah, sure, that guy was the one responsible for everything. I know I should be glad about it. But despite that, I still feel a faint sense of loneliness. Even if we were never going to see eye to eye, I'm sure that in his own way, he had principles that he abided by, not ones formed over the course of a few short years like mine, but a compulsion formed over millennia. But in the end, he let it all go. He decided that he'd done enough, that he no longer had any reason to remain. The only reason I was able to neutralize the luminary was because he'd merged himself with the energy that powered Calvaria. My knife couldn't cut through the luminary. The luminary had been conjured from Arcueid's mental image. Only attacks that made her think she would be damaged could actually so do. Ultimately, the luminary had taken damage unconsciously. Something only possible as a result of a convergence of factors, the still fresh memories of the pain inflicted on her by Calvaria, and the original fraction of her power carried by Roa. Roa's vampiric abilities. The principle that allowed him to reincarnate. Both were things he had stolen from Arcueid after deceiving her. As such, after becoming a luminary, Arcueid had felt compelled to take back her own power, even if it came in the form of an attack. It's almost as if Roa and Ciel-senpai had worked together to pull it off. There's a good chance nothing else would have been able to deactivate the luminary. Damn, look at the left side of your fucking face, holy shit. I say all that, but how do I put this?
情けない姿。所詮は人間ね。放っておいても心臓が止まりそうじゃない。
なんだって空気読まずに出てくるんだよ、お前は。
She doesn't even look injured, for God's sake. Oh, the cat ears. It's been so long.
終わってる。完膚なきまでに終わってる。誰がどう見ても俺たちの勝ちでお前の負けだ。あんだけ好き放題やってやられたくせに恥ずかしいとか反省するとかないのか、お前は。
I can't believe the nerve of her. Sashaying over here like some kind of model after what she just did.
当たり前じゃない。私は全然平気だし、疲れてないし。このまま第3ラウンドに移行しても構わないし。
Well, look at all those lines. That's clearly just bravado talking. If Arcueid tried to fight Ciel-senpai in her current state, she'd be dead in a heartbeat.
体中に線走らせておいて笑わせるな。だいたい巨大化とかふざけてるのか。俺じゃなかったら二度と話しかけないレベルだかんな、あんなの。
I have to admire my own kindness for neglecting to pile on with the fact that it was absolutely terrifying. Here I am, so beyond fed up with Arcueid that I barely even know what to say, and I'm still being this nice.
バカじゃない？私、全然本気じゃなかったもん。手加減してたもん。それに、式のことなんて最後まで気がつかなかったわ。
嘘つけ！
そりゃちょっとだけ視界に入ったけど、
Yeah,
でも基本は無視していましたよーだ。私の強固なガムテ脳に感謝することね。
I think she means to keep a lid on her anger. Sure, I guess I'm grateful for how patient, or rather prideful she is. All things considered, it would have been understandable if she'd lost her mind. She was killed with an underhanded sneak attack, rejected, and finally had her pride as a true ancestor trampled on. If she doesn't kill me here, she'll go berserk and destroy the planet. No doubt about it.
まあそんな余力はないだろうけど。
あるわよ。頑張って頑張ります。
そうか、応援してやるよ。学校一つ潰せなかったポンコツだもんな、お前。
あれは士気が悪いんじゃない。待っててって言ったのに追いかけてくるとか、しつこいにも程がある。このストーカー、初めての時から何も変わってない変質者。女の尻を追いかけることしかできないのかしらね。
お
Shit, the way she puts it is so strangely appropriate that I'm choking on my own words.
相変わらず変な言葉だけは詳しいな。何も変わってないのはお互い様だ、バカ。
とにかくよくもやってくれたわね。もう本当に許さないから。でも謝罪の言葉があるなら少しぐらいは聞いてあげる。
ない、一言もない。むしろ笑いをこらえているのを褒めてほしいんだけどな。
全然こらえてないんですけど、超にやけてるんですけど。何その哀れみの目、ムカつく。
哀れみじゃない、呆れてるんだ。こんなひどい。
And breathtakingly beautiful.
吸血鬼がいるとか、地球ってすごいなって。
ドアより最低な人間がいるとは思わなかったわ。もう知らない。せっかく許してあげようと思ったのに。バーカバーカ。
バカがバカバカ言うな。バカの価値が下がるからな。バカは一人いれば十分なの。
何それ、意味わかんない。バーカバカバカバカ、式のバカ。
はい、そうですね。バカっていう人がバカなんです。
I adore these two. Without moving from where we are, we get stuck in a loop of calling each other stupid over and over again. Our name calling escalates into a competition and eventually laughter. We call each other stupid so many times that the word starts to lose all meaning. Our hearts are as open as they were when we'd been calling each other names, but now we're laughing happily together instead. And then, once we finished getting all our feelings off our chests,
ごめんな、アルクエイド。
as an unexpected mixture of warmth and sadness wells up in my heart.
俺は多分お前といるとすごく楽しい。でも自分の幸せより先輩の幸せを取ったんだ。
I speak the words of our final farewell. The world awakens from its slumber. What remains of the luminary fades away, leaving only the unchanged figure of the avatar in white. Damn, the whole left side of your body is fucked. All that's left now is for my tattered body to finally pay the price for the miracle that brought us here.
トーナク。
Hey Ciel, just in time. I hear the sound of hurried footsteps. Oh right, we're at the school. Of course Senpai would be here. Even though she has suffered even more injuries than I have, and fear is carved into her body, she faces arcueid without flinching.
交代を解除したのですね、アルクエイド。何のつもりか知りませんが。呆れた。粉々にしてあげたのに、もう動けるようになってるなんて。ロアがいなくても頑丈なのは変わらないのね。え、
All of the emotions that had driven Arcueid have evaporated. Her desire to kill Senpai, her anger toward me, her obsession with Roa, even her own fierce will to exist. They're all gone.
私、そろそろ帰るわ。いい加減眠くなってきちゃったし。
Ciel Senpai is completely bewildered. She woke up only to find that Roa was already gone, and that her greatest enemy is about to head out. Normally she'd be thrilled, but Arcueid seems so carefree that she can hardly believe it's real.
でも、あなたも彼を。そんな意地悪な人、どうでもいい。
Her golden hair flutters. The vampiress in white turns, ready to return to where she belongs.
シエルにあげるわ。大切にしてね。
She disappears into the night, a smile still on her face, wishing for the happiness of another just as I had. Aww. Yeah, go back to streaming or something. Memories of our farewell engrave themselves on my heart. When I wince from the pain, I finally lose the tenuous grip I had on my consciousness. I try to call Senpai's name, but no sound comes out.
ひどい。何があったんですか？しっかりしてください、トノ君。
You're asking what happened? Well, a lot of things, but... It's okay. There's nothing to worry about anymore. I try to reassure her, only to find that I can't even breathe, let alone speak. I really messed this one up. I used up too much of my strength against Arcueid. I can't believe that our final moments will end on such a pathetic note. I really am the worst for making Senpai cry. And here I'd wanted to say something to reassure her. I sink into an inescapable darkness. Still, with this, I can rest in peace. So does Shiki still die here? In my own stupid way, I dealt with everything I had to. So if I ever wake up again, I can face Senpai with my head held high.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all niggas suck, bro. Get off the fucking game. Get off the fucking game, please. Hold on, I can't hear you. I can't hear you, my nigga. I am a god and I've transcended, my nigga. Stay beneath me, you peasant. You are a dumb bitch. Hold on, nigga. Don't come to me, nigga. I am above you, nigga. You sit beneath me, nigga. Now pick up my coins, you broke ass nigga, and sweep my